Welcome back to OpenLine, talking about Tennessee's Season to Remember, which honors the victims and survivors of homicide. The ceremony is tomorrow night, but this really gives us an opportunity to talk about the issue and how it impacts families. We're happy to have with us Tina Fox and April Armstrong. And April, you shared your story about your brother. So what happened after? You said you were in shock.
Correct.
Talk about the whole legal process, how long it was, and just kind of what you went through.
For me, it seemed like a pretty long and lengthy process. You know, on TV, I'm just saying that, you know, you always see and you think it happens quickly, you know, that
Right.
once they're convicted or whatever, it's a quick process, but it's not. They were in jail, just in the county jail, probably for 2.5 years, going on 3 prior to the trial.
Did they immediately arrest people? How long did it take them to arrest people?
It took them, there was eight days.
Okay.
October the 4th is when it happened, and they were arrested on the 12th.
Did you know them?
I knew one of them, and my brother knew one of them, and you know, it was, he was actually, my brother was very good friends with one of them's dad. So that's been very hard on the father of the perpetrator.
Right, right.
And I didn't know the other two. I had heard of one of them, but one of them I didn't knew anything about. But my brother had, actually I did too. I went to school with one of them, the same one, the one, his mother. And my brother had known, like I said, had known him, and I myself as well, since he was a little boy, you know.
So there were 3 people involved. They were all arrested within 8 days.
Correct.
And then what happened? You said 2 years they were in the county, but what happened? How long before trial?
Oh, it was about 2.5 years to trial, and you know, during that time there were hearings and there was arraignments and just all different types of things, and you know, we'd have to go to the DA office for meetings, and you know, there were talks of plea deals, and you know, you had to just have family discussions as to, do we want to do that, do we not want to do that, what would be, you know, the best interest, because you wanted to convict them all, but because they were all involved, and in order to get, you know, to the main one, I guess that's, for lack of better words, that's really not, but
right,
2
right.
had to take, you know, 2 took a plea deal and had to point him out, you know, and say this is so-and-so and this, you know.
So 2 got a lesser sentence and 1 got life. Is that right?
Correct. 1 got 25, 1 got 15, and 1 got life. And he's eligible for parole after 51 years. He's supposed to serve 51 years of his time.
So how hard was that on your family, going through the whole legal process?
It was hard, very hard, because, you know, I personally didn't want any plea deals, but, you know, I was so upset, angry, mad, hurt, bitter. There were so many emotions that were going through me, you know, in my mind, my heart, that I really couldn't think very well, to be honest with you. So I was totally against the plea deals. But my father, who was the more sensible person at the time, you know, that's what we had to do to get the conviction that we got. So he, you know, he kind of talked me down to help me understand why that decision needed to be made that way, and because, like I said, I was very much so against it.
And were you in court all the time?
Every time, yes.
Wow.
Very hard to see them face to face, knowing that they were the last person that had ever seen your brother, you know, laid eyes on your brother, and knowing what they did to your brother. You know, your brother, your father, you know, because he has a daughter.
Right, right.
And, you know, she was 8 at the time, and like I said, now she'll be 16 in January. But yeah, it's very, very hard. And then we had a parole hearing on one of them, which Tina was at, and we could not have made it through that without her. I tell you, she was very valuable to us, because we had no idea of what to do. You know, we were just told there's a parole hearing on this and this date, be there.
Right. So
Tina has been my contact for quite some time now, and she has helped me. She's had to talk me down a time or two, I think.
Well, all right, so how how common is the experience that you're hearing here? Obviously, she was shocked, and then it took a long time, and there's just kind of this not knowing. So what's available for people that have to go through this?
Right, so April's thoughts are just normal thoughts for crime victims who have been through what she has gone through. We are inundated every day with telephone calls from crime victims who are saying the same things that April has just expressed. The shock, the fear. Murder is incomprehensible and unimaginable loss. And so when you begin to talk to crime victims, you begin to not understand, but you begin to recognize their pain. And as the Director of Victim Services, my primary responsibility is to assist and navigate crime victims through the parole hearing process, like I did with April when she had come to the parole hearing. And so victims need that. They need that type of support. The criminal justice system is a complex system, as we recognize. It's confusing to me sometimes, most times if I'm truthful, but just having a service in place where it's the victim's legal right to attend parole hearings, it's their legal right to be notified, it's their legal right to be informed, it's their legal right to be actively engaged in this process, and that's what we provide. We do refer victims out to You Have the Power, Inc., Tennessee Voices for Victims, so that victims who are in need of additional services outside the realm of parole hearings can be able to get those services that they need.
What are some of the services you're talking about there?
Victims need counseling, grief counseling. They just need to be in a position to receive different types of services based on their individual needs. They go through similar experiences, but their needs are different, and they're at different places at different times. And so You Have the Power and Tennessee Voices for Victims and other sources that are out there provide those services based on individual needs.
Have you, April, have you gone through counseling? Have you used some of these services?
I have had some counseling on my, not through you guys, but out, independently or privately, whatever you want to say. Yes, I have. And
how critical is that? Again, if there are people out there watching, they're going through this, and it's more recent or whatever. How critical would you say that is? Very.
And it's just so hard though, because like for me, talking about it, once upon a time I could just not even talk about it at all, hardly, without just, so it's so hard to get yourself into counseling because you want to talk about it, but you don't want to talk about it because it stirs up all those emotions and feelings that drive you crazy, that you just can't. They're hard to deal with. I just tell you, they're very, very hard to deal with.
So a lot of people don't talk about it. They kind of just shut themselves off, especially around the holidays.
That's correct.
That's really a hard time.
That is correct. And see, my brother was, he passed away on my birthday, 2 days before my birthday.
Oh, man.
On October the 4th, my birthday's October the 6th. So, my birthday just seems to be a bit demeaning. I don't know, and plus as you get older, it's not like it was when you were younger anyway, but, just knowing I was sitting at the funeral home, for my brother, with my brother, whatever, on that day. So it's just kind of, it's like sometimes I'm just going to be honest, skip the whole month of October.
Right.
Just, because it just, sometimes the feelings are just so, well, every year they are just so hard to deal with, because everything evolves around that. And it changes, everything is forever changed, that empty seat, at Christmas table, at dinner at Christmas, or at Thanksgiving, or Father's Day, Mother's Day, all that, because it's just, everything is forever, ever changed from that point. And you're not expecting it, to prepare yourself, because one day he's here, and the next day he's not. So forever change, like his daughter will, her children will never have an opportunity to have a grandfather. It just changed. The ripple effect is just endless for the families, and for the family, it's just, it's
and you
so
said
hard.
You didn't feel like you were at a place where you could even talk about it.
Yes.
At what point do you get to a place where you can talk about it? Is there a corner that's turned, and how long does it take?
You know, I think that is different for everybody, to be honest with you. I think that everybody handles things differently, and I think for each individual that is probably going to be on them as far as how quickly or that they are able to talk about it or not, you know, able to talk about it. And for me, it took a while.
Yeah.
I mean, because I had so much anger, so when I spoke of it, it was always in anger and just, you know, wanting to lash out. And don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of anger, but I have tried to learn how to maneuver it differently, you know, channel it differently. I don't, you know.
Do you get that from counseling? Like, is that something that they tell you, or is it just something you do out of self-preservation?
I think it's a combination. You know, I think it is a combination. Counseling and self-preservation as well. I think it is a combination of both.
Well, all right, we're going to take another break. I want to come back and talk about the whole parole aspect of this, because it took a while for the conviction to happen, and then you go through the whole parole, and you're there for that. The state's there for that. So we'll take a break. Again, if you want to call, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.